Here's 3 of my top performing YouTube videos teaching you to go from beginner to advanced flexibility. Trying to get flexible without following these 3 steps is like trying to catch fish with your hands. Of course, there's a better way to do it. Step 1 is daily mobility to fix aches and pains, start moving better, and create momentum. Step 2 is combining end range contractions with loaded stretching to unlock things like the splits and back bridge. Step 3 is to get strong through full range of motion in weights and calisthenics training, which builds functional flexibility. But how do you get all that done for all the different muscles in your body? You don't. The notion that we need to work out for hours a day to get flexible is flawed. So here's what's worked for me and over 10,000 people around the world. First, identify whether you're stage 1, 2, or 3 flexibility, and then take the appropriate next step. To discover your stage, get the flexibility blueprint. It's free, just click or tap the screen. Stage 1 flexibility is when you're just starting out, totally new to stretching. And a 20-minute mobility routine is the best solution. The reason why is that we want something that's quick and efficient and that gives you a real win, meaning that you can do it and you feel empowered straight away. A stage 2 or a stage 3 stretching program is totally unsuited for a stage 1 beginner because there's just all these movements in there that you won't be able to do at all. So with a 20-minute mobility routine, we always start with foam rolling. And there's a lot of really good reasons for this. Number 1 is that it increases circulation. So it gets the blood pumping to the muscles. It actually increases your heart rate as well. So it's like a warm-up and it prepares you for stretching. It relieves muscle aches and pains, so you feel better immediately, which means you can do it after a workout or on a rest day if your body's sore. And it increases pain tolerance, which is really important for your stage 2 and stage 3 stretching later on. And it uncovers any niggling injuries and helps you understand what you may need to focus on. After we finish the foam rolling, we move into full range of motion mobility training for every joint in the body. So we do fingers, wrists, elbows, we do the shoulders, we do the neck, the spine, the hips, the ankles and feet. Now this isn't just circling your joints around. We're intentionally taking the joints through full range of motion to maintain our gains and also increase our mobility. When you do a good 20-minute mobility routine, you'll instantly get more flexible. Literally, you'll do it once and you'll feel more flexible straight afterwards, which is really important because it empowers you, gives you a sense of accomplishment, and makes you want to come back tomorrow and do it again. In the 20-minute mobility routine, we work towards a deep squat, spine mobility, and shoulder mobility, among everything else that I've already listed. But until you've got a decent deep squat, working on something like the middle splits or a back bridge, it's just beyond you. And we really want to get that foundational squat pattern dialed in. And that's what the 20-minute mobility routine does, among other great stuff. Stage 2 is when you're comfortable stretching, but you've hit roadblocks and you can't unlock advanced moves. This is when I started following a structured program. So instead of just all over body mobility, I was doing a dedicated workout for the front splits where I was working on the hamstrings and the hip flexors. And then I'd do a separate workout for the middle splits, doing things like butterflies and active middle splits. And then another workout for a back bridge, including exercises to improve thoracic extension, shoulder flexion, and internal rotation. And then a 4th workout for shoulder extension and external rotation. At stage 2, we also introduce more advanced techniques like end range contractions and loaded stretching. And this is where that increased pain tolerance that you developed from the foam rolling in stage 1 really becomes important. At stage 2, we also start using progressions and regressions for exercises. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach here. So in the Flexibility Masterclass with those 4 workouts that I just listed, we have up to 5 or even 6 phases for some of the exercises. So there's a version that's right for everyone dependent on where their ability is. And you'll find that you'll unlock one progression and pretty quickly you'll need to move on to something more advanced. That's the nature of stage 2 stretching. Stage 3 is the specialist stage. This is when you've dedicated a lot of time into your chosen practice and achieved a high level of skill, but you're noticing imbalances in your body. These are super fit runners who can't shake their shin splints, yogis who lack the strength and muscle mass they desire for more advanced movements, CrossFitters who have major shoulder injuries, and boxers with rounded shoulders. It doesn't matter what it is you're doing, or whether you're really strong but lack flexibility, or really flexible but lack strength. Either way, there's room to grow, and grow you must. Because if you keep going the way you are, these injuries, these imbalances that you've got, they're just going to get worse. Stage 3 is where we combine strength and flexibility into the same workout. Because a stage 3 specialist just doesn't have any time for anything else. They're already tapped out with how much training they're doing. So it's critical to combine strength and flexibility into an efficient workout to get it all done at once. Now, when a stage 3 specialist tries the UMS, they get an immediate result. It's incredible how fast it happens. The imbalances in their body get ironed out real quick. The aches and pains vanish, and they start to see significant improvement in either that lack of strength or lack of flexibility, whichever one it is that they need most. Stage 1 flexibility is when you're new to stretching, and 90% of the content on YouTube isn't suited for you. There's just no point working on moves like the middle splits or back bridge if you can't touch your toes or squat comfortably yet. To find out whether you're stage 1, 2, or 3 flexibility, and how to level up in the next 28 days, grab the free flexibility blueprint. Just click or tap the screen there. A really good stage 1 movement to work on is just the basic squat, because with this one movement, we're developing ankle flexibility, hamstring flexibility, adductor flexibility, and also flexibility in the quadriceps. Pretty much everything in your lower body except for the hip flexors. And so this allows you to work towards movements like the front splits and the middle splits. But it's also a functional movement that you can use in daily life and in your gym workouts. Let's go through a really quick routine that you can do every day to help you develop this stage 1 mobility movement. So the first thing we want is to check if you can squat deeper with a dowel rod under your feet. So if you squat with your heels on something like this, and it doesn't have to be a stick or a dowel rod, it can be anything that you can elevate your heels. If you do that and you find it easier than this, then what I'm about to do is really going to help you, because that's shown us that you have a lack of flexibility in your ankles, which is just a part of it. Now, the other thing that you can play around with first as well is the width of your feet and also the angle that your toes turn out, because by bringing your feet either wider or further apart, and by either turning your toes out more or turning them in more, is going to really change the dynamic of the squat. And Everybody has different length femurs, so this bone here in relation to their tibia and fibula, in relation to their spine, there's a different way that the femur sits in the pelvis for everyone. So the squat distance, like the position of your feet, is going to be different for everybody. And one of the first things you want to do is discover the place that you can sit as deep as possible and as comfortable as possible. Okay, let's get into our routine. We're going to start by just 30 seconds of doing some ankle mobilization. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this ball on the outside of the heel, and then we're going to apply as much pressure as we can directly down onto the ankle. So we're trying to get lateral movement of the heel. So we're going to really push down, and we'll do this in real time. So you're just going to push as hard as you can. And when I do this, even just doing like 20 or 30 seconds on each foot each day will really, really help. Okay? So pushing down like this, really getting stuck into it. Okay, now we'll change sides. So we're just grabbing that ball, putting it under the heel, hand on top of the ankle, and really push down as hard as you can. So you're trying to get as much lateral movement in that heel as possible. This really helps to improve dorsiflexion of the ankle, which is where your toes come up. So it's the type of mobility that we need for a deep squat. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to do a 30-second loaded dorsiflexion stretch. So I'm just grabbing my dumbbell, and I like to use quite a heavy weight, so I've got 25 kilos here, and I'm just going to allow that weight to pull me as far forward into dorsiflexion as possible. Now, if you don't have a weight, it's totally fine. If you were just to lean your body onto your leg as I do this, so do it with me now, and just hold for 30 seconds, it's still going to have a positive effect, and it's still going to help to increase your flexibility. Now we're into the squat routine, and this is where you'll jump onto your dowel rod if you need it. So you're going to do this with your heels on the dowel rod, but if you don't need the dowel rod, if you can do it with your feet flat on the ground, then by all means do so. And hey, if you're getting value out of this, please share this with one of your friends. Like and subscribe to the channel, but if you just take the time right now to hit that share button and forward it on to somebody that you think would benefit from this, it goes such a long way. And I put out so much free content for you guys, for those of you that are wanting to learn from YouTube, and the only ask that I have is that you share it with your friends. So let's get into a squat like this now, whether you're using the dowel rod or not. And what we're going to do, the first thing is we're going to try and drive our legs out. So you put your knees inside, elbows inside the knees like this, and we're going to push the knees out. So this gets deeper into the groin. You'll feel a stretch deeper in the groin when you do this, okay? And time spent in the squat every day. We're not going to do a really long squat here, but time spent in the squat is absolutely going to increase your mobility in this stage 1 movement, and it's going to prepare you for stage 2 flexibility training, where you can start working towards things like middle splits and pancake and all that stuff. And again, if you want to learn more about stage 1, stage 2 and stage 3 flexibility, grab the free flexibility blueprint. You can click or tap the screen there and download it now. Okay, now what we're going to do is try to lean over as far as you can. So we want to try and get this shoulder as close to the ground as we can. And we're going to put this hand on the ground because we don't want this knee to move when we do this. We want that knee to be still. And then with this hand, we're going to try and push that knee out. Now, if you can't push as far as I can, if all you can do is push to here, that's fine. But just push as hard as you can, all the way out, all the way out. And now try and hold it for 10 seconds. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now we change sides. So I'm going to lean down to this side as far as I can go. Put that hand on the ground. Okay, and then push this knee out. Change angles a bit so you can see me better. Push that knee out a few times. Okay. And now push out and hold it for 10 seconds. Nice work. Doing that daily, just that, if you did what we just did then each day, you will unlock the squat in probably about 28 days, I'd say. And stage 2 flexibility is when you're comfortable stretching, but you've hit roadblocks and can't unlock advanced moves like the middle splits. To level up your middle splits at stage 2, it's best to pair end range contractions for the glutes with loaded stretches for the adductors. Now, to find out whether you're at stage 1, 2, or 3 flexibility and how you can level up in just 28 days, grab the flexibility blueprint. It's free. Just click or tap the screen there and download it now. So with stage 2 training for the middle splits, we first need to understand what antagonistic muscles are. So the muscles that are going to be tight, preventing you from getting into the middle splits, are the adductors. They're the ones on the inside of the thigh. Now the antagonistic muscles to those, the muscles that do the opposing movement, are the glutes, the glute med, which are the muscles that pull the leg away from the center line. So what I mean by an end range contraction, it's actually when you take the leg as far as it can to its end range, and then you contract the glutes to try and pull further. So a way that I can illustrate this is, if I get down here and try and lift my leg up, so I try and lift up as high as I could, and then contract my glutes and lift higher, 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 that's what we call an end range contraction. So the opposing muscles to those glutes, the adductors, if I get down into a position like this and put my body weight into the legs, so if my adductors now, I'm squeezing my legs together to hold myself off the ground, this is what we call a loaded stretch. And it's loaded because the muscles are having load applied to them. So they have to fight against the load, which means that it develops strength in that end range. So it teaches the nervous system that this is a safe range, but it also thickens the muscle fibers because we're using eccentric and isometric contractions. So it's a win-win because it's developing flexibility, it's teaching the nervous system that this is a safe range, and it's making you strong at that range, which is functional to movement, which is what you want. So let me show you how you can pair these end range strength exercises for the glutes with some loaded stretching for the adductors. And this is what a part of a stage 2 middle splits workout will look like. So if you're ready for this, if you're comfortable with stretching and you know you've hit those roadblocks, then this is going to be really good for you. And if you think this is too easy for you, then you're probably at stage 3. And again, if you want to learn about stage 3 flexibility, grab the flexibility blueprint. So we're going to get started. We always do the end range contraction first. And the reason why is that when you contract the antagonist muscle hard at end range, it actually shuts down the nervous system, or some of the nervous system's capacity for contracting muscles. So antagonistic movements actually help to relax the opposing muscles. So agonist in this case, if I was correct, I'd say that the glute is the agonist and the adductors are the antagonist, but it doesn't really matter as long as you just understand that the muscles are opposing each other. So when I contract those glutes really hard at end range, some of the nervous system's function of contracting the adductors to prevent an injury, because that's what it's basically doing. The nervous system, the reason why you can't do the middle splits is because your nervous system is protecting you by contracting the adductors and protecting you from injury. And so some of that function shuts down and it allows for an increased range of motion straight away. And what it also does is by developing strength in that end range in the glutes, it allows you to actively be able to pull yourself into the middle split. So there's a lot of really good stuff going on here. So we're going to get down onto the hands and knees like this and just bring this leg out to the side, okay? And then from here, what we're going to do is just lift the leg and then come back down, and you'll do that 8 times, okay? So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now try and hold it for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we do the other side. So from here, try not to lean away as you lift the leg and try and really lift as hard as you can, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we go straight into a loaded stretch. Now, if you're new to active middle splits training, it's really good to have a dowel rod like this, because it is dangerous if you're not comfortable to be able to get down and put your hands on the ground. So you just want to go to a point where you feel like you're getting to your end range. Then you want to pull into a posterior pelvic tilt and try to squeeze your legs together as hard as you can. That's really important. We're squeezing those legs together as hard as we possibly can. We're going to hold for 30 seconds. So I don't have my stopwatch, but I'll do my best to time. So posterior pelvic tilt, I'm tucking that hips under my body, those hips under my body. We'll call that 10 seconds, squeezing those legs together as hard as you can, keeping the knees straight. You're really going to be feeling this inside the leg here. Okay, we'll call that 20 seconds. So let's go for 10 seconds more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you just use the stick to get out if you can. And if you're flexible enough, what you can actually do is you can come down, and then this will push you into your max range and you can do a little bit of a hold there. If you're getting value out of this video, please share this with a friend, somebody that you think might also get value out of it, because I put a ton of free content out there for you all to enjoy and level up with. And the only ask that I have is to please just share it with your friends, and also like and subscribe to the channel if you're into it. So if you do 3 sets of that, where you do the end range contraction for the glutes, and then rest no more than 10 seconds and go straight into the active middle splits, and then you can rest for about 60 seconds. If you did that, that's a good introduction to stage 2 training for the middle splits. Now, it's important that you don't rest for more than 10 seconds, because there's a lot of really cool stuff that goes on during those end range contractions of the glutes. Part of it is that we're fatiguing the nervous system. We're basically restricting its ability to contract muscles. And so that gives you a window of opportunity where it's hard to contract the adductors, meaning you get more flexibility when you go and do your active middle splits. So it's really good to do the end range contraction and then go straight into the active middle splits, and then you can rest for a minute or so before you do your next set. Now, the other thing to think of is that with stage 2 flexibility training, there's a lot of different progressions. So there's multiple types of end range contractions that you can do. So you'll start at a basic level and you'll eventually progress to quite a challenging end range contraction. And then there's also the same thing with the middle splits. There's some, like the active middle splits is where we start, but we move on to some much harder progressions. So you can see some of those on the screen right now. So just make sure that you are working on something that's within your capability, but also something that's challenging you. And if you want to know more about that, make sure you grab that flexibility blueprint. You can click or tap the screen there. And if you want to see another video like this, if you want to see a stage 2 middle splits workout, you can click or tap the screen there, and I'll see you in that next video.